I am Vuso Majija. This is the Retail Exchange, powered by Fortress, where we talk about what it takes to make South African retail tick. South African retail is not for the faint-hearted. We're a nation that loves style, that loves bargains, and we shop late into the night of Christmas Eve. Fashion retail, especially, is fast-moving. From TikTok videos to online flashes to the smell of new clothes on shopping racks. Today, we're talking about what it really takes to win in this space. And joining us is the Operations Director of the brand Contempo, Marcel Destombes. Marcel, before we get into it, we've known each other for a long time, but I think for the audience, can you tell us a bit about the brand or the history of Contempo and perhaps your personal journey within the brand?
Sure, no problem. Also, first, I'd just like to say thanks very much for hosting this.
Thank you.
I think it's great that landlords and retailers work harder together, and I think we've had that conversation
Absolutely.
more than a few times. Also, Contempo basically started as factory shops.
Okay.
We're a proudly South African local brand. We really go out of our way to manufacture as much as possible within the borders of the Southern Africa. Let me put it to you that way. I can't say that everything is manufactured in South Africa.
Sure.
But the reality is that we were a manufacturing business that got into retail by default. Our customers stopped supporting us because they started importing more and more out of China.
Okay.
And the reality is that we decided to go into competition with them.
Okay.
I know that it's not something that most retailers would want to hear.
Sure.
But the reality is we were forced into it. We didn't have an option.
And you still manufacture to this
And
day?
we still manufacture to this day. We employ a lot of people locally, and we're proud about that.
Yes.
We're really proud of our heritage and our roots within South Africa. In terms of where the business started, we started off as factory shops just to be able to sort of outlet all of our rejects and overruns.
Okay.
And from that, we gradually grew into a retail business.
Sure.
We're now sitting in a situation where we're a national retailer with 63 stores. My personal journey within the brand is that I've done everything from the merchandising side, the buying side, through to the planning side, even a little bit of marketing at one stage because
Sure.
we had nobody to do marketing. And I'm now sitting on the operations side where I can really directly impact more and more of the costs. As your retail store base grows, so do your costs on the operations side.
Sure.
And I really set myself a task of being able to try and reduce as many of those costs as we possibly could.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that. Just as a start, I often hear the word value fashion, and I know that Contempo focuses on women's fashion at affordable prices.
Correct.
So that seems to be a good model. Tell us why that model works and why you guys like that space.
So, our attitude is that to chase price only is a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
You can import garments out of China these days at cheaper than what I can import the fabric from China at the
Sure.
end of the day. The reality is we want to be able to offer the customer something that's good value for money, something that's going to wear for a long time, something that's fashionable, and something that's going to be at a fair, decent price.
Yes.
We engineer those garments to be able to come into price, so we can give you the same look and feel as the garment that you're wearing in a really, really nice cloth, but it's engineered slightly differently. Instead of doing a two-piece placket, we might do a bound placket.
Sure.
Instead of doing a two-piece collar, we can do a one-piece collar. So there's different ways of being able to skin a cat and be able to offer the customer decent value while still looking good.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, that for me, I've seen a lot more retailers now trying to get into that space of affordable but still fashionable garments. But to move on a little bit, there is this trend of bigger retailers or buying other retailers. I can think now of Pepco buying Retailability, and I can think of Studio 88 and
TFG is
Mr.
the one
Price.
you should be talking about.
Yeah. So what do you think about that trend? I mean, where is this? I mean, we often joke that, You know, if you're going to build a shopping center, you maybe need to phone 6 people and you'll have all the brands. But the independent brands are still important in my view. What's your thinking about this trend?
So, TFG's probably done it the best, I'll be honest there. I mean, they've really done a phenomenal job. I think they've got about 26 at last count that I remember seeing brands in their stable.
Yeah.
I think that Truworths is probably getting hammered for not going out there and trying to find brands that they could possibly be purchasing, because I think they're sitting probably on the most cash out there at the moment.
Sure.
I think that Pep buying some of these other brands, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, they're a really good operator.
Yeah, they're good
They know
operators.
exactly
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Agreed.
You look at Mr. Price; they've bought over Studio 88
Yeah.
and the rest of those brands.
Happy Chef and
They've done also take their spare cash, and all they've done is invested back into their own businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what they've done.
I
think-
suppose one must also think that at least they're not investing it overseas. They're investing it in South Africa, so that's a
True.
good thing.
And not only that, still keeping local people employed, which is the best part.
Yeah.
I mean, they could be taking their money and employing people overseas, but they're not. They're
Exactly.
choosing to spend it locally and keep it local, which I'm all for.
100%.
Now, in terms of the smaller guys, you're asking about them. There's some really great traders out there.
Absolutely.
I mean, you go through to some of these centres and you see some of these old school traders that are there day in and day out.
100%.
They know exactly what their customer wants. They know what type of brands their customer
Yeah.
wants. They know what sizes their customers are wearing. They're really on top of their game, and they know probably more about retail and fashion than what we'll ever know.
No, that's true. Someone like that is, well, they're not small, but the guys from Fashion World,
Yeah,
absolutely amazing.
I know the family really well.
Yeah, no, 100%. But maybe we'll change a little bit now and talk about, look, for the last couple of years, we've had tough trading conditions.
Sure, tell me about it.
We've had COVID, we've had a low growth environment, and the cost of living for consumers has skyrocketed. What is the mood, or what is fashion retail like at the moment? And in answering that question, I'm thinking about we're now going into the festive season. So what's the mood and what are the expectations for the coming month?
So, I think there's about 3 questions in that one question that you've just asked. I think the starting point is that I think the customer is really constrained. I think that, the cost of living has skyrocketed in the last couple of years. I'm going to take one step back and go through the first part of what you were saying, is that in the last 5 years, retail has been tremendously difficult. It really has been. I think that COVID came along and really destroyed maximum amount of businesses out there. I mean, there's a huge amount of businesses that have folded and have closed down, and it's sad to have seen what's actually taken place. The reality is that 2023 was actually not a bad year in terms of retail. I think most retailers would be happy to be having a 2023 right now at the end of the day, because the last 2 months has gotten really, really difficult. If you ask me, I think that this whole year has been very, very tough. I think there's different businesses in different business areas. If you look at cell phones, they never really seem to have too many problems. They're fairly consistent because people go in for their contracts and they'll buy accessories, etc.
Sure.
You look at some of the footwear guys, they're still performing because everybody still wants a nice new pair of tackies at the end of the day.
Correct.
But in terms of ladies' clothing especially, women don't spend on themselves. They spend on themselves last. They spend on their families first. They spend on their households first. And they look at themselves last. So they never really... if there's no money out there in the economy and there's no disposable income, it's very difficult for ladies wear retailers. I think menswear is probably a little bit easier, but the reality is that the customer is very constrained.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem has been the high interest rates. I think that the rand-dollar exchange rate having gone for a ball of SH1T also hasn't helped, because that's really pushed inflation into the economy. And the reality is that we need interest rates to be able to come down, to be able to free up a little bit of stimulation and stimulate retail spending again.
No, 100% agree.
I do believe, and I know that TFG recently mentioned it in terms of the gambling. They were lambasted in the press about it, but it's a real thing out there. I'm finding staff members even that are going out there and actually gambling during working hours, and a lot of them are actually borrowing money off of loan sharks in order to be able to fund their gambling.
That's a sign of desperation.
So it is,
unfortunately.
And if you look at the stats, it's I think 100 times or 26 times. I can't remember the exact stat.
Yeah.
I read in the news recently. I think it was like 7 billion versus 100 or 17 billion versus 100 billion rands worth of spending.
It's crazy. And
Shein
some
and
of that is
Temu.
coming from the social grants, unfortunately.
And social grant money is being spent on gambling,
So I
unfortunately.
think government does need to get a hold of this thing.
I 100% agree with you. And it's a sad thing because gambling is an addiction.
Yes,
And it's something that is really nasty. It takes away from people's lives.
absolutely.
It takes away from
No, it
their
doesn't
families
give.
and takes away from their own
It
lives.
doesn't give it all. Something you mentioned earlier, I found it interesting that obviously it's been a tough, since COVID has been tough, but you specifically, part of your focus is on career way.
Correct.
And how have you adapted to this work from home phenomenon
Vibe
that's
that works
happened,
out.
the vibe that's happened?
So it actually happened very, very quickly. I think because of the fact that we are aligned with manufacturing,
Yes.
and we almost a vertically integrated type of operation. We loosely base ourselves on Zara, and the reality is that we can move very, very quickly in terms of changing
Fast fashion.
our product mix and our look and feel. So we did. We changed away from career while still keeping career as part of our
Yeah.
core. But we did move a lot more into casual wear,
casual wear.
especially just after COVID,
Yes.
when there was a
I
lot
actually
more
remember
working
having
from
that
home.
conversation with you then.
There was a
around
lot
COVID.
more working from home at that stage. But I think most people have actually gone back through the office. But
They
what
have.
I am finding is that people are just dressing in general a lot more casual.
Sure.
So casual wear is there to stay, and it's there's definitely it's a room for growth for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, Marcel, I mean, we've known each other, as I said, for a long time. How do you think, from your perspective, how could tenants and landlords better build on that relationship? I think a lot of work has been done on that. In fact, for many years, particularly since COVID, I think that relationship has strengthened. But obviously, we can't stand still. How do we improve further on that?
So I'm going to take a step back there. Just maybe, I think prior to COVID, I think that there was a lot more them and us from both sides.
Yeah.
It was the landlords versus the retailers, and the retailers versus the landlords type of vibe. But I do find that COVID changed and leveled the playing field
Yeah.
a little bit more. We've had this conversation on a few occasions where I've said, we can't live without you guys, and you guys can't live without us.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys need tenanted centres to be able to attract foot traffic in, and we need that foot traffic to be able to do trade.
Yes.
And that's the reality of it.
I mean, my view is, I've always thought that, in fact, even before COVID, I always thought that landlords and tenants have a good relationship, or maybe that's just the way we work. And for me, it was strengthened during COVID because I remember in those days, people came out saying, we're in this together. And I think that relationship has improved since that. One of the things that, it's a difficult conversation, but one of the things that I know we're going to have to find each other, and in fact, it's maybe not a conversation with tenants and landlords only, it's also a conversation with tenant landlords and local authorities, is getting together and talking about affordable cost of occupation.
Yes.
Because the rental portion in what we charge has decreased, but the administrative cost portion has increased, particularly electricity and rates and taxes. So, and I think in South Africa, we don't have a measure of, or a guide on what's the right occupancy costs. We're still using rent to sales ratios, but maybe that's not effective anymore. And we need to start talking about occupancy costs. And I think there's going to be some transparency that is required between all of us, because as landlords, we don't know where those occupancy costs get too much and where your model breaks. And you on the other side also don't know when that model breaks on our side. And in fact, what it's leading to, probably slower developments happening. But I think that's a conversation but it's a conversation that needs to start between
landlords
between
and
landlords and retailers and the municipal authorities, so that they also understand you can't just keep pushing rates and electricity and all those sort of things to the hilt. I don't know, what's your feeling on that?
So, Vuso, listen, I think you'd find that most retailers would be prepared to work with the landlord in terms of addressing it. I mean, a prime example is a shopping centre here in the east of Joburg. I'm not going to mention which one.
Sure.
But the rates and taxes have gotten up through like 90 Rand a square metre.
Yeah.
I mean, before you've even started trading, you're looking at 90 Rand a square metre to just be able to put foot sort of through the door. That's excluding all the additional costs. And I think that, landlords find it cost prohibitive on their side.
Absolutely.
But as retailers, we're really the ones that are footing the bill.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are footing the bill in terms of the vacant space in the common areas, but we're really the ones that are footing the majority of the bill.
It just means you charge less rental on that side. Yeah.
I don't know if that works in this economy.
The whole equation doesn't work.
But I think that you'll find that most retailers are open to being able to save wherever possible.
Sure.
And if it means that you're putting a little bit of legwork, you'll probably find that they will work together with the landlords to be able to address those type of issues.
I think we need to get to that point.
No, not all retailers are horrible. We're actually quite nice people.
Are they people? Let's get into online trading. I mean, for us, the shopping center is still the place to be. How big is online in your business, and what's your thought on it?
Vuso, I would tend to agree with you. The physical visit through to a shopping centre is still number one in South Africa. If I analyse it in our business, it's probably the same as one store's worth of turnover.
Yeah.
Given that we've got 63 stores, you can do the maths on that one. I think that there are some winners. I know that Bash has done exceptionally well for TFG. You can see it in the press and you can see it in their results. The reality is, I think for most retailers, it's probably less than 5 to 7% of their turnover. Okay. I'd say most retailers even probably less than that. But I think the guys who are doing it well is probably between 5 and 7%. It's never really going to be that. Well, I can't say it's never really going to be. But the reality is that I don't see it in the near future changing the ball game that drastically.
Sure.
I think that the guys who are selling the mom and pop type of places that are selling only on Facebook Marketplace or Instagram or WhatsApp groups and that type of thing, I think that's 100% of their turnover. So it's
sure.
But for clothing retail, the customer still wants to be able to go in there and actually touch it. She wants to try it on. She wants to be able to have that feeling of walking out with a bag in her hand and having something brand new that's cool and makes her feel good. I mean, that's really what it's about. The fact that you can also go and have a cup of coffee and a quick bite to eat and
that's the point.
Orange juice and a toasted sandwich with your friend, that makes all the difference. And
I think that's the point, because it's also making us not to be lazy. Because now you need to think about how do you bring people to your center. So I think it's good in that sense. Agreed. But you're reminding me of something now. Maybe I'm going to jump quickly to the next question is Black Friday. Most retailers I speak to hate that thing. And I don't know why they don't just stop. What's your feeling?
My guts are telling me is that... it's quite an interesting one, because you speak to some retailers and they hate it because it affects their GPs and it affects their profitability. That's really what it boils down to. Other retailers love it because they can do massive amounts of turnover over that same type of period.
But are they profitable?
Yes and no. I mean, it really depends on where your margins lie at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think the guys that win out of Black Friday are really the tech guys, the guys who are doing sort of TVs, white goods, those type of areas. I do believe that the likes of like Checkers and those guys, they move massive amounts of product over the Black Friday period. In terms of clothing retail, it's more difficult. It's not like we've got massive amounts of specials that are maybe sponsored by some of our suppliers.
Sure.
You look at the likes of a grocery type of chain. They'll get their suppliers on board. Their suppliers really pay for those Black Friday specials that the customers then take advantage of. Yeah. In terms of clothing, you've got to go out and buy either a very long run of a very specific product and have it at a killer price, or alternatively, you've got to sort of discount wherever you're finding yourself overstocked, as some of the retailers' 100%. Attitudes. And other retailers just blanket put everything on discount, the
special,
same as
yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
You know, we've actually launched our Black Friday special already. Today's Wednesday.
Yeah.
And we
Black Wednesday.
well, we started on Monday, and you know, we ran it last year for a week, and it was
Sure.
successful for us.
Okay.
And we did good turnovers over the period. The grocers do obviously suffer because you're discounting.
Yeah.
But the reality is that it's still good turnovers.
Still good
so you've got
turnovers.
to be chasing it.
Yeah. People that talk to say it's changed the shopping calendar. Obviously, it's brought Christmas spend forward. I mean, if I remember last year, I think Black Friday was successful, but mid-December wasn't that great until maybe like 2 days before Christmas.
And then it pumped.
And then it pumped. So it's done something there, and yeah.
I think it starts earlier than that. So for most retailers, I think that this year's October were terrible trading conditions.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, obviously there's some
But
standout stores.
wasn't that the two-pot system? Just because last year two-pot system was in October.
People say that, but I'll be honest with you, I think the two-pot system actually took place over a 6 to 7 month period. I mean, the start of it was last year, October, but
Sure.
it took place until around about February, even March, where most people were taking out their first tranches of
Okay.
the two-pot system. I think that most people this year, in terms of October, even into November, and November trade has also been very constrained for most retailers. I mean, the feedback that I get from some of the other retailers is that it's tremendously constrained out there at the moment,
Wow.
and everybody's been waiting for their Black Friday. So it has changed the dynamic. I mean, in the old days, you could literally say you do 2/3 of your turnover in the last 3 months of the year. It was
Absolutely.
going to be October, November, December. They
Yes.
were cracker months, and everybody pumped.
And
But
that's
also,
changed.
you know, the world has changed, times have changed,
Yeah.
retail's changed. I do believe that Black Friday has had an impact on us in South Africa, bigger than probably most other places that have been doing it for a longer period. But at the end of the day, you know, there's still money to be made, and
Sure.
you've got to go out there and keep on fighting for your share of the pie as
Sure.
a retailer.
Okay. I mean, something totally off topic now, but we're talking about changing seasons. Interestingly, there was a grocery retailer who told me that Easter is smaller now than back to school. And previously, Easter was bigger than back to school. So, and perhaps that's got to do with people's costs, not costs of the constrained consumer.
Constrained
But
consumer.
it's funny that this year has been a funny year from trading. It hasn't been consistent. It's been up and down, actually.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I think the last couple of years has been up and down. I found this January actually a particularly good January.
Yes.
It was,
That was
and I'm
back to
sure that
school.
was
Yeah.
that was the same retailer that was telling you that January was a good month.
Yes, exactly.
I think that last year December, I think there was a fair amount of actual savings. A lot of people didn't go away. I think that the people who don't traditionally go away, because I mean, we don't have people that can go away
Sure.
at will. I think that the reality is that the average South African consumer did manage to save a little bit over December and really
Used it.
pumped it into back to school, maybe some new clothes for the office. Scrimped and saved over the December period instead of going out and really going for it and blowing everything. And it was a much better January than what I've seen in a very long time.
Sure.
But by the same token, this October has been difficult.
Yeah.
I think that the long weekend in October, I think some people did manage to get away. I think there was also a fair amount of travel.
Yeah.
Places like Polokwane and Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape. And I think that a lot of people actually spent their disposable income on taking their families away for a long weekend
Sure.
or something like that, or going to go and visit family instead of spending it on retail.
Marcel, as we begin to close out, what's the one thing that you like landlords to learn about your business?
So I think from a retailer's point of view, I'll
Yeah.
speak for most retailers here, is that, you know, the metric that you guys use in terms of how we're doing
Sure.
is not aligned to the way that we look at metrics at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's probably a polite way of being able to put it, but the reality is that trading density in our lives means absolutely nothing.
And rent to sales.
And
Yeah.
rent to sales means absolutely nothing, because at the end of the day, so long as we're making a profit in that store, it's contributing towards the whole of the business.
100%.
I think that landlords spend far too much time monitoring it through to the nth degree, whereas there's a lot of retailers out there that do massive trading densities, and the reality is their profit margins are minuscule.
Yeah.
In terms of those businesses, give them a 3-month period where retail's been tough, and a lot of those businesses are going to be out, even though they were doing 50 to 60,000 rand per square meter, based on a landlord's metric.
Sure.
I think most retailers will fight you tooth and nail to be able to give you what type of margins and what type of markups they're using, but you can calculate out of the financial results of most of the bigger guys.
I think your point goes back to what we were saying earlier on, that cost of occupation. Most of the time, we actually don't know where the retailer model breaks from a financial point of view. And I think that transparency somehow, and I agree with your point that maybe that is a thing that we should get to know, but it requires transparency for both sides.
I agree.
And that's the only way we can really solve that.
But also, and I haven't had the benefit that maybe some of you guys have had as landlords, and that you guys travel the world and speak to other landlords. The landlords, from what I understand from retailers overseas, don't necessarily have the only metric being trading density. They've got other metrics
they're using,
they look at.
So Europe uses occupancy costs. So your rental with your rates and taxes and your electricity. And I mean, I think Napier reports, and I can't remember the number now, but I think they report a number like 12%. Perhaps we need to start moving to that, but we also need to start moving to a point where it says, okay, what if it is 12%? What is that 12? What does that mean? Does that mean the retailer's okay, comfortable in this number, or is it a bad indication? So I think that's where the industry will probably have to move to.
I need to go and study up some more about it to be able to have a look at some logical suggestions.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying. In closing, gauging where we are, looking forward, who are going to be the winners in the retail space?
Sure.
And what's gonna...
Hold on, wait.
What is going to determine?
I just want to fish out my magic wand from behind the chair here. The reality is retail is difficult at the moment. Everything is cyclical at the end of the day. It will get better.
It will get better.
I think everybody's hoping that it gets better sooner rather than later. But the reality is there will be good times that come back again. Ask me what's going to happen in the future. I think that from what I am seeing, and that was from a recent trip overseas, is that designs of stores have actually changed.
Sure.
I think that Ayana is actually doing a phenomenal job. Ayana, which is the Ackermans woman. They've converted the stores over.
Okay.
And they've really done a good job in terms of their shop fitting and the look and feel of their stores. They've made it look classy. They've made it look upmarket.
Sure.
They're doing a great job in terms of bringing their cost down of their shop fitting. If you go into their stores and you analyze it, most international retailers, and I think it's really being driven by Zara and Mango, are merchandising on one single sort of level. And they've made it easy for the customer to be able to walk in, get her size directly off of the shelf that's at shoulder length, not have to get a hook from a woman who's not really interested in to try and fish something off that's 3 meters higher than where she can actually reach to. So I think that retail is fundamentally changing. I think that speed to market is becoming more and more important.
Absolutely.
Even in our business, you can deliver. Actually, I'll use Cotton On as a better example. Cotton On are delivering through every single one of their stores every 12 hours.
Yeah.
Countrywide. So they do a phenomenal job at packing overnight and sending out the next morning, and then packing during the day and sending out every evening at 6 p.m.
That's incredible.
And they're replenishing their stocks as quickly as they're selling them.
Absolutely.
But it also means that you can hold less on the shelves.
Yes.
You can have smaller stores.
Correct.
You can have smaller space.
Yeah.
So I do believe that, based on the fact that, number one, the landlords are measuring us in terms of our trading densities, retailers are going smaller in terms of their box sizes. Number two is the rentals are getting higher and higher.
Sure.
I mean, 10 years ago, you could get a fair rental. These days, the rentals in some of these boxes are just astronomical. And some of the retailers are actually just saying, I can't afford it, I'd rather walk away.
Yeah.
I think that there is a ceiling, and I think we're pretty much hitting that ceiling right now.
Yeah.
That's from a retailer through to a landlord point of view.
Sure.
But just in terms of other trends, I do see that online shopping is going to get bigger. I know that the customer in South Africa still wants to be able to go and have a look, feel, and a nice day out with their families and girlfriends if they want to take out their friends.
Sure.
Girls get together, they love going through the mall because they can sit there and have a catch up and a gossip and a kleba and whatever else is going on. The reality is that she still loves it. So I don't see that changing all that drastically. But I think the online side of it is going to get bigger, and it's more about convenience.
Yeah, so
I think it's going to be more convenience type products than it is going to be fashion type of products, and that's what I'm excited about.
sure. Well, talking about convenience, I've noticed that you've started opening convenience shopping centers or neighborhood shopping centers. How is that? Are you finding that you're finding a different shopper than what you had in the traditional, more enclosed shopping center?
Well, so I think if you use that MSCI index, which is published by the South African Council of Shopping
Correct.
Centres, I know
Yeah.
that it's available on their site,
Yeah.
but it's the MSCI, I think,
MSCI, yeah.
and I think all the landlords are contributing the data towards it. If you look at the trading densities, and there is your metric again, super regionals are obviously the highest.
Correct.
But regionals and some of the smaller regionals are actually taking strain in comparison through to the neighborhood and some of
Yeah.
the larger community type centres.
It's convenience.
It's convenience. But I also found that the customer has definitely changed her shopping habits. She's not going through the super regionals and the regionals as often as what she used to.
Yeah.
She's going through to the shopping centre around the corner because, number one, it's convenient.
Correct.
As you said, convenience centres. In general, there's a Dis-Chem, a Clicks, a Pick and Pay Clothing, a Pick and
Checkers.
Pay, a Checkers.
Yeah.
It's got pretty much everything that she
every
needs
day
on a
stuff.
day-to-day. So she's going to visit there 3 times a week, maybe 12 times a month, versus going through the super regional maybe once or twice a
Yeah.
month.
I think it's good, but it also talks to the times we're living in. I don't know if there is room to build super regionals and regionals anymore. I think at this moment, it's probably time to focus on those convenience neighborhood. So maybe it sort of serves the time. But in any case, I think we've run out of time. Thank you very much, Marcel, for joining us on this retail exchange. Hope to see you again. I'm sure we'll see you again because things change, and we'll get you back here to discuss. But thank you. We really appreciate it, and honored to have you.
Thanks very much for the opportunity to chat to you guys, and look forward to the next time.
Cool. Thank you. This has been the Retail Exchange, powered by Fortress. Thank you for joining us. Please join us for the next episode.